Okay, so we're on mistake number 4, and this is about creating lead magnets that don't lead to sales. And let's just do a quick recap on what we've learned so far. Mistake number 1, pitching before people trust you. Mistake number 2, sounding generic and wanting to charge premium. Mistake number 3, forgettable ideas, and you learned how to mint your ideas. Now, what we're talking about is the problem that most experts face with creating lead magnets that have nothing to do with what they sell, or the lead magnets just don't lead to the sales. Then they wonder why nobody buys. And the problem isn't really the lead magnet. It's simply that the lead magnet is disconnected from your offer. And I call this problem the offer disconnect. And the reason why this happens is that a lot of domain experts, whether you're an agency owner or a consultant, you think that this underlying belief that a lot of people have when it comes to lead magnets. Let me just create the simplest lead magnet that I can make so that I can get a lead. Let me just create a PDF. Let me just create the easiest possible thing that I can make, a checklist, some kind of low-hanging type of thing that I could make for people to get their contact information. It's all about them becoming a lead. But they do this at the expense of creating a lead magnet that actually leads to sales. And what can be confusing about this is that, sure, a simple PDF can work. People can download it. They can get on your email list, but they never end up buying because the lead magnet that you created wasn't on the right topic that was related to your offer. It wasn't packaged in the right way that built enough trust. And so when you have lead magnets that don't bridge that gap, that have something to do with your offer and that are packaged in the right way, all these people that are on your lead list will never become clients. They never end up paying you. And having a bunch of leads, a bunch of subscribers, a bunch of emails doesn't pay the bills. Sales pays the bills. And I call this the offer disconnect problem. That's when a lead magnet teaches the wrong thing and is packaged in the wrong way with what you sell. And that offer disconnect is one of the most expensive mistakes that domain experts make over and over again. Because you're not just wasting your time building the wrong thing, you're also attracting leads who actively cannot buy because they've been trained to expect something different. Maybe you created a PDF on trends or some kind of checklist or whatever lead magnet on a topic, on an outcome, on a benefit, on a feature, on an opportunity that isn't really directly aligned with what you sell. And the fix isn't to create more lead magnets. The fix is to create lead magnets that are designed backwards from your offer. The way you fix an offer disconnect is a practice that I call teach your offer. When you teach your offer, your lead magnet is directly connected to what you sell, not loosely connected or kind of connected. It's the exact same thing taken out of your offer and created and turned into a lead magnet. That way, as someone consumes your lead magnet, they're actually consuming your offer at the same time. So that when somebody's consuming that lead magnet, it gets them closer to your paid offer. Let's take an example from HubSpot. They sell inbound marketing software. And so it's really complex now and it can do a whole bunch of things. But in essence, when they went to market as an inbound marketing software, but they didn't just create the software, put it on a shelf and say, here, buy my thing. What they did is they taught people the offer. They taught people how to do inbound marketing. They taught the benefits of inbound marketing. They taught the reasons why about inbound marketing. They talked about the differences of inbound marketing and what they coined as interruption marketing or disruption marketing or advertising or whatever type of outbound marketing practices there are. They positioned on inbound marketing. So what are the content? What are the ways you can write content? What the ways you can nurture? What are all the different ways that you can do inbound marketing? And hey, by the way, do you want a tool to do this? Buy our service, buy our software, and then we'll help you. We'll help you with workshops. We'll help you with certifications, all this stuff. So that's an example from inbound marketing, from marketing world. Notice what they didn't do. They didn't go out and build an audience and then hope it converted. They taught their offer. Let me break down how you can do the exact same thing with your skills. So the way you teach your offer is really by following these 3 steps. You build from the inside out, you package it, and then you multiply it. Step number 1, building from the inside out. To do this, you want to see your offer as something like a bullseye, not like a single thing, but actually this offer, this process that has several different rings. Now, each ring of your offer, of your process, is a content goldmine. It's a lead magnet goldmine. It's an absolute source of marketing for you that will help you sell your offer. Let's say, for example, you have a sales coaching for SaaS company. Maybe that's the type of expertise that you sell. And your process might look like this. And so you might have the learn the customer, learn about the offer, learn about the objections, learn about sales practices, learn about sales call optimization, upselling, downselling, recurring sales, and then getting referrals. So from the outside in, that's kind of how you would shape your offer. So there's 9 steps in there. There's 9 different rings. The thing is that not all of these rings, not all of these steps and these topics are equal. And this is what most people miss, because there are essentially 2 types of topics. There are the hot topics that are really close to the inner core of your offer. And usually they're like the final steps, the ones that are closest to that outcome that your customer wants. Typically the last 1, 2, 3 steps of your offer. Those are your hot topics. In this example, it could be things like getting referrals module, the upselling module, or closing recurring sales might be a super interesting hot topic. Now, fewer people might search for these terms, fewer people might actually engage with these terms, but the people that do engage, the people that are interested in these topics, they're more aligned with that core offer, that core value that your service, that your offer has, that is differentiated from other people. The people that really engage with your hot topics closer to the middle, those are ready to buy. They're already inside the problem your offer solves. Then you have the cold topics. These are closer to the outside. Steps are usually further from the outcome. Maybe they're the first few steps of your service, first few steps of your process. And in our example, it might be learning the customer, studying the offer, and then handling objections. Those might be the first 2 or 3 things. And these are important, these are foundational. And actually, in order for the person to go through this training, they have to learn about those because they're foundational. The problem is that foundational topics aren't hot enough to make people pull out their credit card. And the problem is most experts, they build their lead magnets around the cold topics and not the hot topics. So they start at step 1 of their process because it feels logical. Well, let me teach them the first thing. But your audience doesn't want the foundation. Your audience doesn't convert on the foundation. They want the outcome. They want the hot topics. And so really you want to sell people what they want, then give them what they need. That's why you start with your hot topics, the steps that are closest to the sales, closer to that outcome. That's where you build your first trust magnet. So you start in the middle first, start from the inside out. Step 2 is to package it. And you want to package your trust magnet in one of these 4 ways. Now, after you've picked your hot topic for your new trust magnet, your new lead magnet, the question is, how do you package it so it gets consumed and drives sales? And the answer there are essentially 4 different ways that you can package any lead magnet to make it more likely to convert into sales. And each one of them changes how your audience experiences the exact same topic. Number 1 is warnings. Now, you already know this. People are hardwired to avoid pain. And when you package your teaching, your how-tos, your expertise, your experience, your knowledge into mistakes, threats, or traps they need to avoid, for example, like 5 mistakes inside sales reps make that kill their referrals, you take the same content as a how-to guide, but you wrap it in a warning. This triggers a different type of response in people. People consume it faster. People convert faster. People are more likely to pay attention on the traffic level, convert your landing page, and then continue to read all the nurturing emails and then want to buy a workshop or book into a phone call or something like that, or essentially just go down the funnel. Okay, that's angle number 1. Angle number 2 are examples. Now, people love stories. The mind loves stories. It's terrible at storing information, great at storing stories. And the more relevant you can make the stories to your specific audience, the more likely they are to see themselves in it. For example, how an inside sales rep in SaaS went from 0 referrals to 12 referrals a month, that's a little story. You could package that as a series of stories. You can say 5 stories from sales experts that went from 0 to a million. So that's a different way that you can package up the same expertise, but just in a different packaging. Angle number 3 are audits. Now, an audit works like a compass. It helps people figure out where they are and then what they're missing and then what their next step should be. For example, sales audit. Find out how you're leaving 5 referrals on the table every single month. this doesn't just teach them, it also diagnoses them. It diagnoses where they are, what they're missing, and then how they go to that next step. A diagnosis creates a sense of urgency that a how-to never really will. And then the fourth one, this is the most powerful one, are demos. And this is the most underutilized form of packaging because it takes more work. And I want to tell you a story about this to really bring this to life, because the demo, most people might think of the demo as getting a trial to something where they get fewer features, like get a trial of the software and then upgrade later. But I'm not really talking about it like that. What I'm really talking about, because we're talking about domain expertise and how you can demonstrate domain expertise, it's really about showing people, giving the opportunity for people to really live that demonstration. My favorite example of demonstration I learned on the My First Million podcast, so go check those guys out. And it was the story about Elisha Graves Otis, who's the guy who invented the new safety mechanism for elevators, and how not enough people were buying elevators at the time because elevators pretty much sucked. They didn't have a safety mechanism like the one that Otis designed. They would fall, they'll crash, and people would get hurt. So they keep taking the stairs, not enough people buy elevators, and Otis wanted to sell more elevators. So he hired P.T. Barnum, and P.T. Barnum understood was the value of a demonstration. Instead of telling people, instead of writing to people, let me just demonstrate it to them, because your product has something fascinating that we can demonstrate. So P.T. Barnum recommends that they rent out the Crystal Palace in New York City. And so they invite people, there's hundreds of people there, and they're watching this demonstration. And so Otis, he steps onto an open elevator platform, they ride it up into the air, and then he tells his assistant, cut the rope. And there's one rope holding up the elevator. The rope snaps, everybody freaks out, and the elevator starts to drop, but only for a few inches, and then it stops. And then Otis looks out onto the crowd and says, ladies and gentlemen, all safe here, ladies and gentlemen. So in that example, Otis demonstrated the product. He didn't explain it, he didn't pitch it, he didn't highlight its features, he simply demonstrated it. And so I think with domain experts, whether you own an agency, you run a consultancy, however you sell your expertise, the key here is to think about how you can package your lead magnet as a demonstration. Give people an opportunity to see you demonstrate your skills that you claim to have, that you claim to operate, that you claim to offer to people. Let them see you do the thing live. This is why workshops work so well. This is why webinars have worked so well in the past. Maybe not so much now, but it's so good because you demonstrate the skill, and people, while they're watching it, whether it's live or recorded, they get a sense of, wow, I'm actually seeing this person demonstrate the skills. And while you're demonstrating, it's helpful if you demonstrate something that solves the same problem that the person is watching you demonstrate. So for example, if we're talking about the same sales example, and the person that joins your workshop, or that joins a live stream, or that calls you on the phone, or that is with you in person, however you're demonstrating this thing live, they get an opportunity to see, for example, they're an inside sales rep for somebody in the medical industry, right? And during the demonstration, they see you answer questions or help somebody that's also in the medical industry. Maybe they're slightly different, but they see you solve that type of problem. The more different types of people you help from more different contexts, the more likely they are to believe that you can also help them solve their problem. So those are the different ways to package your lead magnet. Warnings, they inform people. Examples, they'll inspire people. Audits, they help diagnose. And demonstrations, they prove. And each one of these, I believe, they're more powerful than the next. Demonstration being the most powerful one, but it also takes the most work. It's also why not a lot of people do it. And quick note about it is that it's also the most BS proof or most AI proof, because so much of the content that you see out there today, whether that's paid or whether it's organic, is AI slop. And the AI slop really is this regurgitated, thoughtless type of content that doesn't really demonstrate your skill. It's so far from the live moment. It's something that is already pre-created and posted and shared. And so anybody can essentially just fake that. The live moment is harder to fake. It's harder to fake your skill, your ability to solve a problem off the cuff, to really demonstrate live. Like if somebody stopped you on the sidewalk somewhere and they were your ideal customer, could you solve their problem? Kind of take that as a metaphor, as an example, and then work backwards from there. I think that is a good way to think about the power of a demonstration. Step number 3 to teaching your offer is to multiply it. So once you've picked your hot topic, once you've packaged it using one of these 4 angles, now what you can do is you can multiply this single topic, this single lead magnet. So for example, if you took the step, how to get referrals, you run it through the 4 angles, that can give you 4 different lead magnets. Then you can multiply it once more by multiplying it across different audiences or different avatars. For example, you might have the inside sales rep, the outside sales rep, the sales reps in medical, the sales rep in real estate. Those are 4 different avatars. Then you can multiply it one more time by multiplying across different mediums. So you might have, for example, a webinar, a workshop, an ebook, a free course. Those are 4 different mediums. Instead of a course, you might have an audiobook. So you have a video that's recorded, a workshop that is live, an ebook that is recorded but it's written, and then you have an audiobook that is strictly audio. So those are 4 different mediums. And once you multiply these 4 mediums across the 4 angles for the 4 different avatars, that gives you 64 different, genuinely valuable lead magnet opportunities that are directly related to what you sell. So you're basically teaching what you sell in these 64 different ways. They're simply the same idea, just packaged in different ways. And all of those just from one single step of your offer. So once you master that, once you nail this, once you go through that process for one single step that's closest to the center, you can then expand and go to the other steps outwards. The important thing is start with the inside first. Start from the inside out. That's how one offer becomes infinite content ideas, infinite lead magnet ideas, infinite ways for you to attract and convert people into the skills that you sell, and turning your skills into sales. And doing that in a very efficient and effective way, because everyone that you convert into that is going to be super likely, super close to the offer that you sell. So after watching this, I want to just remind you to stop buying into the idea of building an audience that you can't sell to. Most experts build their lead magnets on the outside. They're thinking wide reach, lots of downloads, but 0 sales. That's an offer disconnect. Remember that you want to teach your offer. Start from the inside, build from the inside out. Package your hot topic in the right way, and then learn to multiply it. Multiply it across different avatars. Multiply it across different mediums. Multiply it across the different angles. So that's mistake number 4, lead magnets that don't lead to sales, and exactly how to fix it. Now let's move on to the last and final mistake.